Hi, I'm here with writer Marka Rifat, and she's going to read her story Redress and talk with us about it. So, Marka?
Hi, Redress. She poked a strand of thin grey hair back under her purple silk hat. Now past her 50th year and in straitened circumstances, she still made an effort with her appearance. She pushed the sturdy metal gate. A scent of warm spices floated down to her from the large house. She ascended the neat cinder path, which wound between two rockeries. Although it was spring, there were no flowers, only boulders. Puffing hard, she reached the brass-studded door and rapped her cane on it. A gust of air shook the tall oaks surrounding the house. The door opened. As a young princess, she had often fainted, mainly through trying to maintain her figure by starving herself, but fainting was also useful for avoiding attending all those tedious ceremonies. Now, although many times her youthful size, habit ensured she fainted decorously. A floral apron was being fanned across her face. Her eyes fluttered open. Attached to the apron was, "You? But you're dead! If this is delirium tremens, it feels really real." "Now shush," came the reply. "Breathe slowly. You're just having a little panic. Believe me, I know all the symptoms." "But you were dead. Your hideous carcass was thrown over the fields beyond Daddy's kingdom. This can't be happening." "My dear princess, either take my advice or remain on my cinder path. It's been newly scorched, not an ideal companion for silk, and that hat is such a pretty purple. Take my hand and we'll have a nice slice of cake." The dragon led the tottering figure into a spacious sitting room, then reappeared with an apricot sponge. "So, princess, why are you here after all these years?" Tears welled in the bloodshot royal eyes. "I came to... Oh, what does it matter now? I'm too late." She pointed a bejeweled finger at the dragon. "Did you eat him, you fiend?" The dragon smiled. "He is alive and as well as one can be after the demanding life of a Christian knight." I heard he'd been tortured." "Well, that's rather a strong term for his brief marriage to you, but if that's how you view it..." "How dare you!" "We married after the great saving of the kingdom day, and," she sobbed, "hardly a year later, he disappeared on some chivalrous business, and things did not go as I deserved." Tears rolled over her double chin. "Daddy made me drink sweet wine to give me courage, waiting for you to appear on Saving the Kingdom Day. He was distraught, sacrificing me, but the people insisted I was the last resort, vile peasants. Sadly, wine became my support afterwards, and food, to cope with the trauma you caused, you monster. My nerves were shredded, despite having George and saving absolutely everyone, the ingrates. But now I'm on the 7-step program." She produced a card and waved it. "This is my last step. Apologizing to George. I was so awful to him. The Guild of Blacksmiths thought that he lived around here. Their local representative sniggered, impudent man, and muttered rockeries." "Wait, how do you know about George's health?" "Dear girl," excuse me, "you haven't been a girl for a very long time, have you? Can you gather yourself and look around?" The princess, despite the shock she had bravely endured for over barely minutes, had heard an edge in the quiet voice. She saw paintings of horses, a desert, and several portraits of George. One showed him with an arm around the dragon, smiling. "Look into the hallway, dear. See his coat and riding boots? Understand now? But a man and a dragon living together, it's against nature. And you're a man. It's disgusting. The dragon's jaws opened wide, and laughter with a hint of singed apricot filled the house. You never worked out what happened that day, dear. The princess took a large bite of cake to steady herself. At first sight, princess? You mean, she squeaked, you fell in love with me? Suddenly the dragon was above her, dark eyes burning into hers. No, instead of in love with George. But you were so meek when he said to put my girdle around your neck. A girl has to pick her moment. I wanted to. I knew it was into me for appearance's sake. It hurt, but love does. I knew he would be mine someday. I would have done anything for him then, still would. The dragon's fond gaze turned to the double portrait. Look here, you beast. This is completely... Did you say girl? Yes, dimwit. I felt like a girl then. I feel like one today. But I can be a boy tomorrow, just as easily. It's a very rich and satisfying life. I am more lover and certainly more dragon than you will ever be. And today, princess, you're intruding on our anniversary. When George returned with a beautifully wrapped box of charcoal, he was met by tantalizing smells from the kitchen. Hello, dearest. A roast for our special dinner. Oh, you spoil me. The dragon gazed at him with smouldering desire. Georgie, what a saint to bring me a present. And I have nothing for you. Can you forgive me? George put a veined hand to the dragon's cheek. To be with you is all I wish, my evergreen dear. Oh, I called by Ronnie's, and he'll finish making your fire irons tomorrow. He was chuckling away to himself. Wouldn't say why. Funny lot, blacksmiths. Now, your afternoon. Did you have time to sew as well as preparing dinner? That looks like a bit of cloth between your teeth. The dragon deftly teased away the shred of purple silk and returned George's trusting smile. Oh, just a little housekeeping, my angel. Nothing important.
Thank you so much. It's such a charming story. I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about how you came to write it. What inspired you to take that story and transform it?
Well, I think looking at an existing story is always a great start, especially when you can't think of one yourself. And there is a great tradition of reworking fairy stories, for example, or legends. And I just thought, gosh, what happened to the dragon? What happened to George? And what happened to the princess? Because when you look at the paintings of George and the Dragon, because that's what you come across more than the myth of George and the Dragon, in those paintings, the dragons look pretty feeble. They're little things, almost dog-like. And you think, well, that wasn't much of a challenge, was it? And the princess leads away the dragon with the girdle around its neck like a little dog. And you think, okay, yeah, but why was this such a big threat to the kingdom that the king had to sacrifice his own daughter? Was that really the best they could come up with? So I would have thought she was pretty resentful, frankly, having to risk her life. So it's just, yes, this idea. And when you write, you do spot things that spark an idea, but then you bring with yourself all your memories, your ideas, your notions. And there's this little magical thing that happens that's a chemical reaction that's just for that moment, just for you. It's unique. And I did also think of that wonderful line from a very old film from 1976 called Car Wash. And in it, these very put upon employees in a car wash are constantly bickering and arguing. And there's one character, Lindy, who is so fed up with another one called Dwayne, that he says to her, look, I'm more man than you'll ever be, and I'm more woman than you'll ever get. So it was that faint, vague half memory of that which led me to make my little homage about the dragon and putting the princess really in her place. Because who can beat a dragon, frankly?
Wonderful, thank you. I think one of the questions I've been asking all of the writers, because we work with a lot of students for a college-based journal, is about the writing process. So can you tell us a little bit about what that was like for you for this story?
Well, the story just jumped into my head, but what I like to do is to let it just sit with me for a while. And I start refining it more in my head, you know, when you're walking around, when you're just doing things around the house. And we've been doing a lot of things around the house lately, but those were the olden days when I wrote this. And what I don't want to do is lose a little phrase or an image. So I always have a notebook with me, and if I can, I get writing on the computer as well. But I think having a notebook with you is absolutely essential, because you just never know where you're going to be when you think, that's how this will happen, and that's how so-and-so will realize this. And so once I have written down the first version, I try to give myself as much time as possible before I look at it again. Now, I know it's not going to seem like a stranger has written it, but I want it to be as fresh as possible, so I can then rigorously hack away at it, or indeed add things. I think, oh, no, it jumps too quickly from this point to this point. You need a little bridge. I look at overuse of adjectives or underuse of adjectives. And it's all about the plausibility of the story, whether it's fairy stories or a thriller set in wherever. It's got to be plausible, no matter how much or how little detail you have. So you've really got to carry the reader with you. And I always want to make every word count. It's the absolute basis of poetry, the very best of poetry. And I think it should be the best part of every book, really, that you've taken away everything that doesn't absolutely hold the reader. And it can be very tough, because you'll have certain phrases you think, oh, that was such a nice one, I love it so much. But no, you have to be brutal. Well, a bit brutal.
Wonderful, thank you. Anything else you'd like to tell us about the story or your writing or any other projects?
Well, I found that I really only took to writing once I'd almost reached retirement. And I'd always written factual material. But obviously there was loads of fiction and poetry and plays and all sorts of other things lurking there that I hadn't really known about. So I would say to anyone, don't hesitate, just go for it. And you may find that there are, just try as much as you can. You may find that something that you think you'll be really good at isn't quite as good as something else that you've tried, despite yourself. So give yourself challenges. There are lots of ways of finding challenges online as well, a daily prompt, that sort of thing. And more than anything, I would say read as much as you can, as many different genres as you can, even ones you think, there is no way I am going to read a cowboy story. There is no way I'm going to read this bodice-ripping romance tosh. Read it. You never know what you're going to find. When, again, in the olden days, when you're allowed to go into libraries, I would deliberately go to a section I wouldn't normally go to. Now, I'm really partial to science fiction. There are certain things that I love. I love biography. But I think, no, come on, just go to that section you never go near. Borrow a book, just don't even look, just borrow. And that lucky dip, you just never know what it can lead you to. Even if it's oh dear, I definitely get rid of that paragraph. Dear, that's not clear at all. Call that a recipe. So, so you're helping your inner editor as well. But it's so good if you have the time to read as widely as you can, and to really, if you can, come across articles and talks where authors are writing about what they do and how they approach things as well. So it's just surrounding yourself with that world of writing, world of reading, and world of editing and polishing, and just having fun.